everybody, and welcome to the Nighttime Show podcast. I am Nighttime Show writer Mike Glazer, here, of course, with Nighttime Show producer Matt Walker. Our guest today, you know him from Pinky and the Brain, Johnny Bravo, Jimmy Neutron, Back at the Barnyard, Big Time Rush, and he's the creator of the Thundermans. Ladies and gentlemen, our guest today, Jed Spingarn! And of course, the man who used his Nickelodeon character to get a free bed. Give it up for Stephen Kramer Glickman.
That's right. You better believe it. That just happened today. I worked out a deal with a bed company, and I'll be doing some tweeting for them, and they're sending me a giant bed.
What bed company?
I'll tell you which bed company.
You
I'm
should know.
very excited about it because
I'm so excited. I have to look it up on my phone.
No, I want to make sure it's Hero Bed.
Hero
Bed, which is great because I'm a big superhero fan. I tested one of their beds out, and it was very, very comfortable. A lot better than like Ghost Bed and all this other stuff. When you get the mattress like sent in the mail, so they're sending me a big Cal King.
It's a Hero Bed, a Hulk size bed.
Yeah, it's for my big fat ass.
Incredible bulk.
Be able to relax so that I don't.
So how did this go down? Pains. Do you go in the store and they're like, "Oh my God, you're that guy"? Or
no,
do you say, hey, I'm that guy?
I reached out to them and I was like, "I think this bed's amazing," and I just wanted to introduce myself and just tell you that I'm a big fan. And then they were like, "We should work together," and I was like, "Oh, absolutely, I'm on board."
Well
I'm
played.
on board.
He tweets at everyone to get free stuff.
I tweeted them and I try to just get into conversation with them. But I learned that on the set of Big Time Rush. Do you know who taught me how to do that?
No, I don't.
Snoop Dogg himself.
Oh.
On the episode with Snoop Dogg, he turned to me and he said, "Yo, dog, those are some nice ass shoes." And I was like, "Oh, thanks. I just bought these." And he went, "What do you mean you bought them?" And I was like, "Well, I bought them at the store." And he was like, "Yo, dog, you don't need to buy shit. You want a TV show. Just get that shit." I was like, "How do you get it?" He goes, "Just call the company, tell them it's you. Be like, 'What up?' And most of the time, they don't want to be wrong, so they just send you that shit."
That's amazing. Because I remember during that show, I don't know if he told us this story or he said, or somewhere I read that he just called Chrysler because he liked the 300M car that had just come out. And he was like, "Yo, how do I get up in one of those 300Ms?" And I don't know if they gave him one or not. But that's what he does. That's his MO.
They'll give him a car. They give him a car, and then it'll be like a lease where like he can have it for a year, and then when the next one comes out, they'll just give him another one.
Right.
And they just keep trading it up so that he's always driving the newest version.
And the deal is he talks about it.
He talks about it and drives it around, and people get to see him in it. You know, it's crazy.
I can do that with little things like Skinny Pop popcorn. I can be like, I created the Thundermans. How about you give me a break on that Skinny Pop?
Oh, yeah.
Now, what is Skinny Pop popcorn? I'm not familiar with that.
It's so good. It's like, it's popcorn. It tastes like popcorn. I don't know what makes it skinny. I guess they don't use the oils that are
So it's
bad.
pre-popped.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
pre-popped in a
What are
bag.
you lazy people pre-popping popcorn?
Not all of us have time
Just
to
pop your
microwave or
microwave.
put it in a pot. We've got jobs and places to be, Matt. Not all of us are at home cooking elaborate meals.
Well, you should
like you do.
Yeah.
He's constantly cooking
should be.
elaborate
And they look
meals.
phenomenal.
Yeah, he's a
and
very
Mike
good
Glazer.
cook.
Mike Glazer's the one who's been on the cooking shows.
That's true.
What show are you on right now?
The F Word with Gordon Ramsay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And he's out.
Legend himself.
How cool is this? He's out there, Jed, hanging out with Gordon Ramsay like on a regular basis. Like
That's
they're
really
like
cool.
hanging.
Yeah.
So weird. I
Rooftop
love
bars at midnight. Very, very good life right now. Happy to be
Awesome.
around myself.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
And have you told him about your previous cooking show experience?
No.
He doesn't know.
No, he doesn't.
Can't remember. Because he
doesn't
was
know the other
on.
show
Mike
I was
Glazer, tell him what you were on.
I was on Worst Cooks in America on Food Network.
I don't know that one.
Well, that's okay. It's actually, to segue into yourself, it's like the cartoon of cooking shows. So you turn on the burner knob here, and the burner lights a mile away, and then they add like a little skirt, record scratch to it.
So is it scripted?
No, it's unscripted.
They just find
chaos.
really bad cooks.
Yeah, and they're like, "Oh, you're gonna light yourself on fire. That's good TV."
Yeah.
They get people who like set themselves on fire boiling water.
Right.
And then they try to teach him how to cook with Ann Burrell and I don't know who else was on your season.
Bob Flay.
Bob Flay. Oh, yeah. The great
Oh,
Bob
yeah.
Chef
Bob-
Flay.
I cooked a
Bobby
steak
Flay.
Bobby Flay's method this weekend.
All right.
Wow. Took a weird turn.
Weird.
Porterhouse.
I have nothing to add about it.
Jed, we met on the Big Time Rush show.
We did.
Were you on that show from day one? When did you?
I was, yeah.
Like you were on it before I was even around.
I don't know. I
on
remember
it.
meeting you. I remember we were in some in a room full of props. And I was intrigued by you because you have this look, but I'd never seen you before. So I was like, where did this guy come from? And you told me you were 30, and I'm like, that's really not biologically possible.
Yeah, like,
you've never looked 30, right?
You look
you
old.
look 147.
No, you know what? This is 100% true. First day of shooting the pilot, I was standing next to Scott Fellows, and he goes, "It's really lucky we were able to find a funny 40-year-old that was not discovered yet." And I go, "I'm 28," and he goes, "Wow, you look like shit." And then he just laughed and walked away. And I was like, "What?" Yeah. But it's true. That's like when I realized. I was like, "Oh, I look like I always knew I looked older, but I was like, oh, this is beneficial though a little bit. It's beneficial to look older and not be.
And it means you'll look like that for 30 years.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, because you look the same now as you did back then.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Now, how did you get involved in that show? Because you were on Johnny Bravo with him, but with Scott before that?
No, I never worked with Scott really ever. We did the Jimmy Neutron Fairly Odd Parents crossover once, so we got to know each other a little bit on that because he was on Fairly Odd Parents and I was on Neutron, but we hadn't worked together. He just liked me and I liked him, and we would work across the hall from each other. And one day he called me and he said, "Hey, I'm doing this new show." And I guess the exec on the show had mentioned me as he was looking for writers with a cartoony persona, I guess.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, because that's what that show was, basically, a live-action cartoon. Yeah. So he liked me and just like took a chance, which was amazing because I thought I was an animation lifer.
Yeah.
But I came out here to do live action. You know, I wanted to write on Frasier, awesome. And I got on Pinky and the Brain. That was my first job because that was as close as I could get to something that was, smart and Frasier-y. So
it is.
And then I just rode the cartoon wave because that's when that golden era of animation was starting again with Animaniacs and all that stuff.
Oh, hell yeah.
So he sort of admired me from afar and offered me a job, which was incredible.
Did he read your stuff prior? Did you have to write anything to?
No. I had a good reputation at Nickelodeon, and I think it was just all based on that.
That's so cool.
So where did you move out here from?
From New York.
New York,
City.
okay.
Where did you grow up? Did you grow up in New York City?
In the city, in Manhattan.
Where in New York?
Most of my childhood on 98th between 5th and Madison, Mount Sinai Hospital area.
Oh, wow.
Can you take your phone off the table, Steve, so he doesn't
rude.
buzz?
God, son of a bitch.
Can we start over?
So
it's the nighttime show.
I bought a bed.
Hey, we got it. And you work you with food and that. And
so you're from New York. So you were there as a kid growing up. And are you a Yankees fan or Mets fan?
Cincinnati Reds fan. Is that
Reds
weird?
fan. Okay.
Wow.
No, how did that happen?
Because they won a lot.
So you were there in the late 70s?
Yes.
Okay. So
Yeah.
Big Red Machine, Sparky
Big
Anderson.
Red Machine. Yep. I could do most of the lineup, I bet you, right now.
Really?
Maybe not.
All right. What about parents?
Wait. So do you believe the allegations about Pete Rose and the underage
the
girl?
new one?
Yeah.
That's a bad one, right? That's teenage
it's the bad one, yeah.
kissing
Teenage girl,
teenagers?
taking her across state lines.
Yeah. I don't.
Do you think Pete Rose should be in the Hall of Fame? Yes or no?
I would say no.
Good answer.
All right.
Correct.
Yeah, I don't think he should be, and I don't even know who he is.
Yes.
Strong stance.
I don't know nothing about.
Strong stance.
I don't know nothing about them sports.
So I was in New York for like 9 years before I realized, there's no comedy writing here except for Saturday Night Live and David Letterman.
Yeah.
So if you didn't go to Harvard or work on the Harvard Lampoon, you're not going to work
You're
in
out.
New York. Yeah.
It's kind of like the Simpsons writing staff. Like if you're not from
Yeah.
Harvard, like you don't get on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At least back in those days. So then I moved out here, and like within a year and a half, I was on a show. So
Were you writing a lot of spec stuff like for yourself in New York and pitching it around, or what were you doing?
that I was doing. Yeah. And I'd come out here every once in a while, and I'd be like, I'm going to go out to LA for a week and try to get a gig. But that's not really how it works.
Yeah.
Yeah, you have to kind of move here and
you do.
get into it and get in the
And then
mix.
were you doing like?
But how did you get your first gig out here?
I did get one little thing in New York, which was this show called Welcome Freshmen, and it was a Nickelodeon show.
I remember that show.
You do?
Of course.
So they actually flew me down to Orlando. It just lasted 3 months, but I because I had a job and a resume item when I moved out here, an agent took me. And somehow she got me, with my minimal experience, she got me a Duckman episode, a Pinky the Brain, Freakazoid, based on
Those are big shows.
based on very little.
Huge.
Yeah.
But you delivered. So
Yeah.
I guess, and I had good specs.
you had delivered on Welcome Freshmen too.
Yeah.
Now,
So,
had you been
The
that was
comedy
a
powerhouse.
that was that was the time. That's around the same time as Hey Dude, right? Is
yeah,
that
all that
around
stuff.
that time?
And Clarissa.
Oh
and
yeah,
all those
yeah.
shows.
I remember that. That period of Nickelodeon was an interesting period. It was kind of similar age range to our time period of Nickelodeon, which is, like 18 to 25-year-olds playing younger people.
Right.
Kind of like on a show with a lot more adults. Because I know after our show ended, it went back to the other version of Nickelodeon, which is mostly younger people.
Little kids.
Little kids. Yeah. Your show, by the way, Thundermans, one of the only shows that's not like that.
Yeah.
Where you had like a lot of different range in the ages on that show, and that show really worked too. I feel like if this was 1993, that show would have been the show that followed Full House.
Yeah, it definitely had that sort of TGIF feeling.
Yeah. I mean, because Thundermans just ended, right?
It just ended like 2 weeks ago.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Wow,
Congratulations!
that's
on that.
huge.
Great
How many
run.
episodes did you guys do?
103.
Oh my
Yeah.
God!
It was
That's
the
crazy.
second longest running sitcom after iCarly.
Oh my God,
Nice.
dude,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
It was amazing. I mean, we always thought we were dead. Like they give us 7, they'd give us 13, and then they'd be like, we don't know what's going to happen, and go away for 3 months. And then they'd give us, once we got a 20 order. But it was in drips and drabs, so it kept us hungry in a way. You know, we never got cocky.
Nice.
Now, did you study writing in college, or how did you get into writing?
I've always wanted to do comedy writing, but I don't know why. I think because my dad was a frustrated comedy writer. He was a psychologist, but he told me that he always wanted to be one. So I think that happens a lot in my experience.
Did
you
he-
want to be what your parents wanted to be and never could achieve.
Absolutely. My grandmother wanted to be in theater and perform in musicals and stuff like that.
Right.
But, so I always, because of that, I was always like pushing to try to do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Like what about your mother? What did your mother
She
do?
worked at the hospital, Mount Sinai Hospital, as a medical. I don't know what she did.
You're
Surgeon. That was
Yeah?
it.
You're a very funny guy. Was there other funny people? Were other people in your family funny too?
I have an older brother and a younger brother, and they're both very funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not in the business, but they're actually both in the wine business.
Oh,
which
Really?
Is, yeah.
Well, Comedy Aid.
Yeah.
So they help
right.
comedy.
Yeah.
So I call them up when I'm in a restaurant. I'm like, should I get the Sancerre 1989?
they sommeliers or
Yeah. No, they're not sommeliers, but one of them imports wines from Germany, and the other works
Rieslings.
as a manager. Yeah, Rieslings. And
yeah, that's the only German one I know. of, yeah.
Gewürztraminers. And the other manages a store.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and did you ever do anything else besides writing? Like, did you do stand-up? Did you try that? Or
No, I
anything
did.
Like that, or?
It looked like for a while I was going to be a magazine writer in New York because that's what I was getting jobs doing, and that's how I kind of supported myself. So
Who did you write for back
Kind of
then?
lucky I didn't. I wrote for women's magazines.
Really?
Yeah, and I would change my name. I rearranged the letters of my name to be Jenny Gaspard.
Yes,
And then I was
that's
like-
amazing.
Is this a magazine where you would go to the office, sit down, and write there, or was it you send in your articles and they would just buy
No,
them?
they knew I was a guy, and they didn't seem to care. So I'd write I'm 25 years old, single, I know nothing, and I'd write articles like when you and your husband fight over money.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's a show.
Yeah.
That's
Because who knows more about women and their lives than 25-year-old single men?
And fighting with your husband.
Yeah.
Yeah, but a show where you're pretending to be.
Especially at that age.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah.
To the Writers Guild. Register it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, is this if you say something on here, is it trademarked? Right?
No, we
I
own
know.
it. We own it. You have to produce it with
Yeah,
us.
tomorrow-
We're
we
in.
have to all be in the show, and we all have to
Tomorrow,
be.
1,500 people in LA are going to be pitching that show.
You better not, you sons of bitches. That's amazing.
Do you remember any other articles you wrote, besides what to do about if you're fighting with your husband?
Yeah, I wrote an article about the New York Times nuptials page. It was supposed to be
Yeah.
my take on the nuptials
Because that's
page.
a famous one that
Yeah.
people spend a ton of money getting the thing in there. It's a
And-
big
and
deal
there-
getting in.
Yeah,
and
and there's no one knows the secret algorithm they use to choose who gets in and who doesn't.
yeah, I know that's a big thing is to get in. If you're not in that, you're not really in the the upper echelon of people in New York.
Right.
Yeah. There's a couple of I love one of our favorite things on the show is to do this thing called deep cuts, where we try to go deep into your career history. So it's time for something we like to call deep cuts, and to do that we have to do a little song. You ready?
Yep.
Ready?
Yeah.
3, 2, 1. Deep cuts. I feel really good about that. That was. It says here in your IMDb of some of your career jobs and things that you've done that you were a writer on Celebrity Deathmatch on MTV. Is that true?
That is true.
That's amazing.
Loved it.
That show was a stop motion animation.
Yeah, it's kind of like the Robot Chicken stuff they do today. So it was claymation.
Yeah, it was like
claymation.
the California Raisins fighting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it would be like...
But it would be celebrities.
It would be celebrities, and they'd be fighting each other, and brutal.
Are you saying the California Raisins
very
are not
bloody.
celebrities?
Not.
They had their own Christmas special, I'll have you know. No.
That was the most violent thing I have ever done or written for.
Do you remember who you wrote?
Yeah, what did you write?
I did. I just remember I did Howard Stern and Robin Givens as a tag team.
That was a good one.
Couple.
I remember the Howard Stern one.
But I forget who they were fighting. But it would just
Larry
be
King, maybe?
Yeah.
What is the script? Like, are you just writing?
You're writing the
skeleton?
lines, and you're also really in detail writing, and then their spine gets pulled out of the body.
Yes.
Did you watch did you play like a lot of Mortal Kombat and be like, okay, then I'll do what Sub-Zero just did? And
I was not a
you
wrestling
just made it
guy
all up
at all. Yeah, no, just I tapped into that very dark side of myself.
Is that the dark? Like when it comes to writing wise, is that the darkest that you've
God,
gotten?
yes.
Yeah.
No, all my stuff is like Nickelodeon, like Mom.
Yeah, very sweet.
Yeah.
But you do get a little weird. I mean, on what's it called on Thundermans, you have our dear friend Dana Snyder on the show.
Oh God, I love that guy.
Yeah, and he plays the rabbit, right?
Yeah, he's the voice of Dr. Colosso.
Of a puppeteered rabbit.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Shoots tomatoes
Created
at
by,
children.
I believe, Brian Henson. Did
The
Brian Henson
rabbit?
do the puppet? Or
No, it's the Kyoto brothers. Do you know those guys?
Brothers
They
did
did
it.
like Insane Clowns from Outer Space or some movie called. Anyway, they've been around for a while doing animatronic stuff.
Oh my
and this
God.
was a $38,000 build
Whoa.
Wow.
for the rabbit, and so it takes 4 guys on set because there's a guy underneath doing just the movements, and then there's 3 guys standing 20 feet away. One of them is the voice. One of them is like the ears, and one of them is like the legs or something. I still don't. 4 years later, I still don't know who did what, but it's the Kyoto brothers.
Whoa.
When you do something like that, and you're trying to build this show where you like something is missing, and we think it's like, is that
I wanted that?
rabbit?
I did. I wanted that weird element. I'm like, all right, this is a funny, sort of, family, and
superheroes.
Oh, Mom, you burned the roast.
Right.
But yeah, you want it, and superheroes. It had that element, but we couldn't do that many special effects because they're so freaking expensive.
Of course.
So I'm like, how do you make it funny when they're just in the house being a family? And so we came up with the idea of a talking bunny who used to be a villain, and then the dad turned him into a bunny to humiliate him, and now he's the evil son's pet.
So brilliant.
It was a good.
That's so much fun.
We were happy with that idea.
That must have been a lot of fun at a place like Nickelodeon, where I mean, especially and on Big Time Rush too. I mean, you guys would do these, crazy, weird things, and you're working under such a limit. Like it's such, it's not. You don't have the budgets of like Glee or something like this, right? But you have these. You have the ability to like do some really weird, strange stuff. Was there anything on Big Time Rush that you guys came up with that you were?
I just remember mine. The weirdest thing I ever came up with was, for some reason, there was a giant octopus in the pool, and you just saw a tentacle come out and grab someone by the neck and pull them in.
Yes.
And I can't tell you what the storyline was or why that happened. I just remember there was an octopus in the pool.
Yeah. Yeah, that was good. That was good and weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
The other funny thing, first day on the job, I was like priding myself on the fact that I wasn't the fart joke guy. Like I've been in cartoons for 10 years, but I've never written a fart joke. First day, I go in and I'm like, Scott's like, this is gonna be your episode. So what's gonna be cold open? Let's see. Oh, I know. How about Carlos is trying to break the underwater fart record? And that's what it was.
Yep. And you had like a cannon in the pool, explode water out.
Right.
I remember.
There's a giant water. It was pretty funny. If you're going to do a fart joke, do it big.
You guys definitely created a live action cartoon with that show.
Yeah.
Like it was so weird and so much fun and so over the top. And one of the things I really loved is like, at least in the early days of the show, like I feel like, and tell me if I'm wrong about this, but I feel like in the early days of the show, the network didn't really they weren't like around as much, so we got to be a little weirder and improv and push and make things a little more ridiculous.
That may be true. I know Scott is a very forceful personality, and he has a vision. Like he's not a dick at all. He's really nice, but he's you trust him because he knows what he wants. And so it just felt like the executives were like, all right, that show is handled. Let's work on our troubled shows.
It feels like until we got around season 3, that's when they started putting our show on different nights and started moving time slots around, and then kind of messing with him a little bit. It felt like they were messing with him by the time we got to season 3, and then season 4 it felt like the whole way through it he was, or maybe he was just tired. Like I don't know. It just felt like he was getting hustled or getting pushed a little too much.
Yeah, I do remember that actually. Now that you're saying,
and it was also the fault of. I also felt like there was some fault in our cast too, and the label, because that label was no joke, and they were doing stuff like they'd take we'd finish wrapping an episode like the Halloween episode. We wrapped at 3:45 in the morning,
right?
And the boys had to be in a limo to a plane from set. Like they got into a limo, went to a plane, flew to Vegas, got like an hour of sleep, and then they performed for 15,000 people or something crazy like that.
It's like they had two full-time jobs. They were like full-time actors and also full-time musical performers.
Yeah, and then they would take them on the road. Like they'd take them on the road for like a year or like 8 months.
I remember
between
that.
Seasons.
Yeah, there was like an 8-month hiatus once.
Yeah,
I remember thinking, okay, that show is
it's done.
They haven't said it's over, but clearly it's over. So I'm in the library thinking, what other shows can I come up with? What other shows? And I look in Deadline, I think, and it says Big Time Rush renewed for 13 more episodes. And I pack up my stuff, and I'm like, yes,
back
still
in.
Have a job.
Oh yeah. I thought at the end of season 3, they told us that we were done. That we were basically done at the end of season 3. I went into my office, my fake office on that set, and I brought in a truck, and I loaded up all of the records, all my gold records, like 25 gold records from that show, put them in the back of a pickup truck and drove them home. Because I was like, well, because they said I couldn't take them.
They filled in the pool. Remember that?
Yeah, they filled the pool. And once they filled the pool, and I was like, well, then I can take like my stuff and whatever, props and stuff, because they don't need it anymore. Took it all home. And then 6 months later, Deb Spidell calls me and goes, "Time to bring it all back." And I was like, "What?" And they were like, "Yeah, we're coming back, guys." And I was like, "Oh God."
Yeah.
Now you had, was it the first season you did 40 episodes?
No,
or second season.
First season was.
I remember a 26.
20 with a back 9. Oh, it was
29. That was it.
Yeah, 29 was first season. So it was 30, like almost 30.
30 episodes. That's like a huge number for.
Second season was huge. Also, that was first and second season were the majority of our episodes, because then third season was a shorter season, and fourth was even shorter. I think.
Right.
So whose idea was it to do the whole One Direction debacle on your show? Let me ask that.
Do you know where?
Do you know how did that happen? Where you're like, let's address what's going on in real life.
I don't even know anything about it.
This is something that we have discussed at. Okay, we have Jed. We've talked about this at nauseum on the show, because it's something. I mean, we talked about it with Logan and with Kendall, but so band's on tour, right? And they're like, "Hey, band, guess what? We got a new opening act for you." What are they? Who are they? They're like, "Oh, they're One Direction." Like, we even talked to Joey Fatone about it, and Joey Fatone was like, "You never have a boy band open for a boy band. That is the worst idea possible, right?" So they go on the road with One Direction. One Direction, within 6 months, becomes way more popular than Big Time Rush, right? So then we come back for a season of the show, and it becomes we did an episode at the beginning of 4-3 that was all about how the British invasion that they were taking, they were taking us, they were taking over for us. And Scott kept saying that it was because we had to acknowledge that that's what was happening in the world. And I as I've gotten older, one of the things that I feel about this, and maybe I'm wrong about it, but I feel like if you acknowledge competition in a scripted show, like if a TV show, if Big Bang Theory was like, we got to acknowledge Silicon Valley,
right.
you know, I think you're making a mistake. I think you should always pretend like your world is your own world and the rest of it doesn't really exist outside of it. Do you know what I mean? Like, what do you think about that when it comes to stuff like that? Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you have to acknowledge it. Like, oh, the world is talking about it, we have to comment. But I don't think the kids watching that episode probably knew any of that backstory. So if it was a funny episode, it probably didn't matter.
Yeah, you're probably right. I don't know. It was interesting. That was one of those things where we were kind of like, I wonder, like, what. Like,
I know at the time it bothered you.
Yeah, it bothered me. It bothered me, and I know it bothered the guys too because they were like, they're like, why do we have to talk about them? You know, like we're giving them free press, and it was like, we have to acknowledge that there's something, that this trend is happening. And then they came and they were like huge, you know.
Right.
But I don't know. It's weird. Like I think you have to do stuff sometimes. Like you know, us having Snoop Dogg on the show, even though Snoop was like, at the time, it was like, why would you have a rapper who's like. But it was a huge deal. Like it was such a huge deal for our show, and same thing when we had Russell Brand on the show. Right. It was like we had like celebrity.
You just mentioned the two guys who didn't come out of their trailer for an hour,
right?
For different reasons.
Yeah. Why? Oh yeah, why did
Snoop for the obvious reason,
of course.
Now I've heard that Snoop showed up 8 hours late. For the
I remember he was very very late.
Yeah. But you know what? Nobody cared. Like there was no complaint.
You sort of build that into his call time, right?
Yes, 100%.
I assume you just give Snoop a call time that's 6 hours earlier than you actually need him.
Oh yeah,
and then he gets there about the right time. Yeah.
And Russell Brand was he had just gotten into transcendental meditation, so he decided that he was not going to. It was the beach episode.
Yeah, of course.
And he didn't come out of his trailer because he was meditating.
And that was on location. That one.
Yeah, that was a problem.
Whoa,
because you were losing light and stuff like that. Wow,
that's so crazy.
A couple questions. Let me ask you a question about the cast. Carlos Pena, is he the dumbest human being you've ever met in your entire life?
What is the matter with you? You can't. Wow.
Well, it's
Matt.
a character. It's a character.
All right, hang on.
It's a yes or no question. You can just say yes or no.
Tell him the reason why.
I was there for the filming of the pilot.
Okay.
Right? I'm standing there next to Carlos Pena. There's the Minneapolis news van there because it took place in Minneapolis as part of their having fake snow. They had to bring in all that stuff, right? Okay. Where he's going to find Kendall to bring him back to L.A. That's what happens. Carlos looks at the news van. I'm standing right next to him. He's like, Minneapolis. Minneapolis. Is that a real place?
All right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of...
And that's what colors my opinion of Carlos Pena.
There's some weird vowels in there and a lot of consonants.
He was a kid. He was
like 18.
I don't know.
You know what? He's good at other things.
That was his second boy band because he was in Menudo.
The most fascinating thing in the whole world about Carlos Pena was that that was first episode, and then season 4 he was directing the show.
Yeah.
And he was very good.
Yeah.
And it was like...
He's the one who put
mind-blowing.
Carly Rae Jepsen's Call Me Maybe on YouTube.
Yeah.
He
made that
video.
Made her a huge star.
Yeah, it was like 30 million hits.
Yeah, because the people, if you watch that video,
it was like him and Ashley Tisdale and
Justin Bieber and Selena Gomez.
Yeah,
and it's just them dancing around to Call Me Maybe in their house, screwing around.
Yep.
And Carly Rae Jepsen owes him for life. Like she has a career for the rest of her
Carlos,
life.
Maybe he doesn't know how to pronounce Minneapolis, but he's brilliant. On some level, he's brilliant.
He is. And you know what's fascinating too is of the guys, he's one of the guys that has really kept pushing hard and working hard, like every single thing. He's on a show right now.
Winner.
Yeah, he's an Emmy winner now because of Grease, and then he
really?
Won an Emmy for that.
What was that? That cast?
He was in the cast one.
Okay.
The cast one for best ensemble cast for a musical. Or a musical special, a variety special. Yeah, so he won an Emmy for that, and then he's on a series right now that's shooting in Vancouver, I think, for CW.
Is that with his wife? Doesn't he have a reality thing with his wife or something?
He has a YouTube channel with his wife.
Okay.
About Christianity.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He does. Yeah. He's very religious, but like also very like, I don't know, him and Alexa, that's a solid couple, and they're like very. They're like very together, you know, like
great.
You know, which is great. And then Maslow, we just ran into Maslow recently. What were they like when you first were introducing them? Because will you just walk us through? I know. Hang on, so that we're not asking like a million questions at once. Because look, we all have our feelings about. I mean, I owe my entire career to Nickelodeon. So
yeah, you and me both.
I know, right? So here's my question to you. How did Big Time Rush get formed from your perspective? Like, how did you watch it happen?
I came on, when it was time to write. But I hear it went for, there's a 2-year casting call that went on with Scott that nearly, his hair, by the way, beautiful full head of brown hair.
Yeah.
And if the casting thing didn't to make him turn gray, I don't know what would. 'Cause 2 years is a long time to be casting a show.
Yeah, it's a long time.
And it was like a national thing. And so finally when they nailed it, I just showed up, in October when they were already writing episode 1.
Was it
So it's after they
pilot?
found Kendall, or
they had had they found?
Because they had
all 4 guys.
Because they had the original guy playing Kendall's part.
We shot an original pilot that was
right.
before that. So were you there for the original pilot as well?
No, but I remember we brought that guy back as a guest star.
Yeah, Kurt.
Yeah.
Yeah. He came out as Zach Devon, I believe.
Wow, very good.
I got
the only thing we didn't have was a title. And then I remember the guys came in one day and were like, "Oh, we don't have a title. We need one by 5," because we were 3 months into the writing process at this point. We didn't have and they knew they wanted Big Time, but they didn't know what the noun was. And I think it was Carlos who came up with Rush.
Pretty sure,
Yeah.
Yeah, because it was Brand New Day, I think, originally, right? Was like our original, and then
that would not be as good.
Scott Fellows.
I pitched Big Time Scrotum, which I was on top for a while.
Oh, man. That should have won.
I know.
That would have been great.
Elephantitis, the musical.
Big Time Wrinkled Nutbag.
Wrinkled Nutbag, the musical.
All
That
these little
sounds
kids
perfect.
holding poster board signs at
giant
the concert.
scrotum.
We love you, Big Time Wrinkled Nutbag.
Big Time Scrotum, we love you. Hey, real quick before we continue, I am currently sitting here with a bottle of my favorite stuff, Fireball whiskey.
Love the Fireball.
God, it is so good. Real quick before we continue, I just want to pop this bottle open. Hey, Matt, if you listen real carefully, you can hear the Fireball talking to you from inside the bottle.
Sure.
It's a little muffled, though. Hang on, I'll put it up the microphone.
Oh my God, I'm sweating so much. This bottle has been out of the ice for too long.
Can you hear that?
Yeah.
That's the bottle of Fireball. I'm going to pop it open. Hang
Fireball.
on. I'm going to take it off.
Ow, 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 ow.
Oh, I popped the lid off there. Hey, how's it going in there, Fireball whiskey?
Oh, it'd be better if I was in your belly.
Oh, yeah. You want to get in my belly? Get inside this beautiful stomach, his hairy ball of man meat. Get on in there.
No, wait, that sounds... Oh.
Whoa, you down inside my stomach now, Fireball whiskey? What do you feel down? What's it like down there?
Well, why are there all these half-eaten donuts? Don't you chew when you swallow?
No, I've been, just kind of swallowing them whole. But that's the way that I like it, which is the why I like Fireball whiskey. Hey, just make yourself comfortable in there. Sit on the couch, watch a little Grey's Anatomy.
Will do. Enjoy the rest of the show.
I do love Grey's Anatomy and Fireball whiskey. All right, let's get back to the show. What did you think of James when you met him for the first time?
He came into my office and introduced himself, and he told me he was trying very hard to convince me that he was really, really smart. And he started talking about economics, and he was telling me all the books that he was reading, and I bought it. And maybe he is. I don't know.
Wow.
But we talked about economics. I swear to God.
What?
Cool. Yeah.
Do you know what he? My introduction to him is that I grew up in San Diego, and so did he.
Oh yeah.
And his father was friends with my mom.
Oh, I didn't know
weirdly,
that.
And so him and me would go to Passover Seders and stuff together and
What?
see each other all the time. When he was like 13, 14 years old, I went and saw him in a play when he was about 12, 13. And then when we got the show, his dad took me out for lunch with James, and we were sitting there, and he goes, we're sitting in this Italian restaurant, and he goes, look at this boy. Look at him. Look at his body. Look at this body. James, show him your abs. And James stood up and shows me his abs, and I was like,
Was he crying?
no, he was just like, look how beautiful. Look how beautiful he is. He's beautiful. Turn around. Show him your back. Look at the back. Look at this. Look at his arms. Look at his arms. This is a star right here. This is a very handsome man. I was like, right. This is the weirdest dinner I've ever had in my
I'll have
life.
the chicken.
Yeah. Perfect. What about Logan? What was your first Logan impression?
All 4 of those guys struck me as James and Logan in particular as really funny. And I wish James is on his own track. I know he wants to be super cool guy, but he's so funny, and I kind of wish he would show the world that he has that side.
Yeah, he is a very dirty comedy guy. Like he can be so funny and racy and like mean. That's one of the things that like we've talked about having him on the podcast and like how much we'd like to have him on the show.
Right.
But I think that the reason he hasn't done it yet is because he knows he'll say some shit that's gonna fucking
That's
blow
funny
up.
because I remember going to there was some Nickelodeon party. It was like the Kids' Choice Awards party and I was in the VIP tent and he was there and there were these little kids running around and I said something really, and I have no idea why I said something really bad and overly sexual and he was like, dude, that's really inappropriate. Because there were kids around. So he was like a consummate professional at the age of 20.
Sure.
You know who has a good sense of humor? The people who cast him and David Arquette in Sherlock Holmes.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
a good sense of humor.
God. Damn it, Matt. You remember too many things.
The deepest cuts with the rudest take.
I'm just saying, if you show up to watch Sherlock Holmes and it's David Arquette and James Maslow,
You're like, they're not
you walk out
solving
here, you're like,
shit.
come on.
They're
Are you
not
kidding me?
solving anything.
Yeah.
Oh, he's so great. Like I really hope to see him in more stuff. Like he'd be so much fun to watch. In like a male version of Mean Girls, I'd watch him every day.
Yeah, I think he'd be good in that.
Right?
That kind of thing. Yeah.
He'd be so great for something like that.
I'm in.
All right, what about the Schmidt, the Kendall Schmitz?
Kendall would hang out with us at lunch, and he would try to talk about politics and stuff because that's what we were talking about.
Sure.
As the writers, we're like, okay, enough of this writing for kids. During lunch, let's talk about some real stuff. So we'd talk about the headlines, and he'd try to chime in and be like, I don't know. I like Obama. And he didn't really know what he was talking about, but he was trying to fit in. And he's a very nice guy.
Yeah,
and
he's such a sweetheart.
How's his hair doing? Because I know he was always worried about it.
No, his hair's great.
I know. It seems like it.
He
When I see photos of him,
he
it
cut
looks
it
great.
very short. He just cut it very short recently.
Okay. And he seems like he's traveling the world doing his
him and Dustin are out.
They're on tour, performing all over the place, and he's one of the guys that like during the show
seemed like he was the nicest of the four.
There was like a point in the run of the show where him and Scott were like really butting heads, but I think that was because of the label, because the label did kind of a mean thing to them, and I don't know if you know this or not, but this is a fact. There was a time they were going to do a summer song, like it was a big what's the big song for the summer?
Windows down.
Well, here's what happened is they went to all four of them individually and said, go write a song, and whoever has the best song, that's going to be the summer song. And everyone was like, oh my God, we all get to go off and write our own thing. So they all teamed up on their own with their own people and their own producers that they had met, and they all created an original song without getting paid for it, and then brought it to the label. And all four songs got turned down, and they were just given another song to do.
Yeah. Right.
And that is around that time is when stuff started being a little difficult on that set.
Well, I remember Kendall
because it's
playing.
Like, yeah,
I remember hearing the song Kendall wrote in his dressing room,
and he played us all. Each of them we sat with them, and they played us each of their songs.
Right.
And it was like they really invested a lot of time.
Yeah, Kendall
and
put
energy.
a lot of time and effort into that.
And then
thing. Yeah.
and they're being told by the label like, you guys are the biggest shit in the whole world, and that can really be a hard thing for kids when you're being told that you're like the biggest, you're the next big thing, and then suddenly they're like, you're not the next big thing anymore.
I just remember the second album was didn't they write a lot of the second album?
Yeah.
And I always wondered, is that the wisest thing? Like, shouldn't you
idea.
let the songs be written by the famous composers who've written top 40 songs?
Yeah, like that's a kind of a bad move. I think Nickelodeon kind of learned maybe not to do a music show, like a music band show, like after that, because that was their first one, I believe. That was the first time they'd ever created an original band with original music and then put them on tour. Yeah. Because they wanted to do what Disney was doing with Jonas Brothers and Miley Cyrus.
Right.
And I was like, let's just keep doing our show. Like, our show is so much fun. Like, we get to show up. I get to show up and get hit in the face with a fish, you know? Like, I watched my fan base go from, like, having, like, you know, 150 people on Twitter to 300,000 people. Like,
getting free mattresses.
Free mattresses sent to me. You know what I mean? Like, I watched my career just shoot forward because every week we get to put on another weird episode of a show.
But if you think about it, they're thinking to themselves, like, are we like dinky little silly actors, or are we sexy rock stars?
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you have any issue with that on Thundermans? Like,
no. Boy, it was like the most amazing cast ever.
Yeah, those kids are so cool.
Yeah, their heads are on so straight. I don't know how they survived it. You know, it was 4.5 years, and because when they were hired, they were like 14 and 15, and when we finished, they were 19 and 20. So, and they're still just the nicest people, and you know, so game to do silly stuff, and even at that age. So it's just incredible. And then one of them, Jack Griffo, just like literally the day we wrapped, he went and started a new series on Netflix.
Awesome. What? Yeah. What's the series?
It's with his girlfriend, whose name is Paris Barelk, but I don't know the name of the series.
Interesting.
Cool.
It has something to do with cancer, and it's a comedy.
Huh.
Nothing funnier than cancer.
Yes, well.
Before I got to do this thing, I had one big question for you.
Yes.
And it's because, so I came up with Animaniacs being the most important thing in my life.
Okay, let me just warn you right now. I didn't write for it.
I know.
Okay.
But I'm talking about the era and that time period. Yeah. And so for me, it was like things like that, The Far Side, that were the most important things, and they influenced me today. So what do you see yourself continuing to do the same type of thing because of something that you grew up with?
God, who are my like comedy mentors? It's funny you mentioned Gary Larson in The Far Side, because there's a guy named B, his first initial B and last name Kliban, Kliban. And to me, he was like Gary Larson before Gary Larson. And it's the same thing. He's a cartoonist who did one-panel cartoons with just weird captions. If you can find any of his stuff, I think one of them is called "Never Eat Anything Bigger Than Your Head." And
yeah.
And it would just be like
just be
pictures.
You took that advice and disregarded it, Stephen.
Hurtful, but true.
Or there was a woman. There's a picture of a fat naked woman sitting on a business suited man, and the caption would just be, "Fat lady sits on president's face." It's like stoner comedy before I ever got stoned. And Albert Brooks was always a mentor. And
oh yeah,
but I love being able to straddle. Like now that I've done so much animation and a lot of live action, I can sort of go back and forth. And so I don't even know what's next for me. It might be animation.
Yeah. Is that what you want to do? Is go back to that?
I would love to do animation if it's not like for 5-year-olds, because that would be hard to go back to after you've written smarter stuff to go backwards. But it's still
back
like,
to the Duckman era.
Storks, and it was really like something like that was really exciting to me.
Oh, that's nice. That's nice that you saw that. I didn't realize
your character, Froggy Bughead.
Froggy Bughead. That's basically that's who that was. That's so funny. I just talked to Jessica Gao.
She just did a Rick and Morty that was really funny.
Yeah, she just and now she's moved on to Comedy Central. Now she's at Comedy Central writing a live action show.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she came in. Me and Mike Black and John Schnepp wrote this series called Earthmen 9000 over at Jim Henson Company that we were trying to do with them for a long time, and we got to hire writers to come in and like help us with our script.
Guys on a spaceship.
Yeah,
I remember that.
Yeah, and we got to hire Jessica, and it was so rad. We hired her and Ian Edwards, who wrote Two Broke Girls and Blackish.
Oh wow!
And they came in and made our script just gorgeous. I mean, they just made it so much better.
And then Seth MacFarlane came and
blew
it all
out
of the
water. And he came in and
he's like, "I got Orville."
Yeah, we're like,
"Take your dinky show."
Yeah, son of a bitch. Someday though,
Yeah.
It doesn't. What's good is it's a timeless thing. Maybe someday we'll get to go do it somewhere else. We've got real questions from the internet for you.
From the internet.
This is Linus Maslow.
Sure, that's his real name.
Can you believe this is a real?
It's his real name. Wow, that's so.
Do you think that we'll get a new special episode of Big Time Rush one day? What do you think is the possibility?
I would love that. I mean, when I watch that show now, it holds up because it's like the Monkees. It's just so if you don't like the joke, that second, there's another one the next second.
Yeah,
and that's what I liked about it. So,
I hope so too.
Yeah, I mean, if no one's died yet, so we can do that.
I would. You know what I always
even if they die, you just get another guy that looks kind of like him.
Yeah.
I always thought that it'd be fun to do a TV show about the record label and just have a show where people were coming and going.
The Gustavo Rock spinoff is what you were pitching.
Yeah, like a rock record
rock
spinoff.
Record spinoff. Yeah,
I would do that show.
Really?
Of course you would.
God, it would be so much fun. All right. How about this? This is from @Are You a Rusher? That is the name. Matt, you should read the names of these so that people don't think I'm a liar. They asked, "What's your favorite drink?"
Oh, I'm not a big boozer.
All right. Well, how about non-booze?
Yeah. You know what? I like a good Diet Coke.
Really?
I do.
That's interesting because our show is sponsored by Diet Coke. No, I'm just kidding.
And then like 2 months ago, I read, Diet Coke gives you this and that and the other. So then I tried to switch to this organic thing called Veri Cola, Veri, and I liked it.
Sounds terrible. Really?
No, I liked it. And then they stopped. They stopped at the Ralph's that I go to. Stopped stocking it.
Really?
I think I was the only person buying it.
Well, you know what?
That happened to me with Dr. Pepper 10. I used to like that a lot, and then I can't find it anywhere now. And that was like my favorite, and I was like, now they don't have it. And
well, @Are You a Rusher? My favorite drink. I don't know, Matt. I don't know how you feel about it, but my favorite drink has always been Fireball whiskey.
Love Fireball.
You ever drink Fireball whiskey?
No. What happens?
Oh, it is. A magical experiences happen.
Yeah,
Jed. Yeah, sometimes you drink a little bit of that stuff, and then it's fascinating. You end up on another planet somewhere, hanging out with a rabbit that talks.
Wow.
Magical thing. We actually have a bottle for you. We brought you a bottle.
I would love
here.
that.
Here we go. Read that. Read that one, buddy.
From Emily Wilcox. She wants to know, what is your funniest memory from the set of Big Time Rush?
Wow, you have a lot of Big Time Rush fans listening to this thing.
Oh, yeah.
Funniest memory. Wow. I remember Scott Fellows. This is not on the show. This was in the writers' offices. Scott was a pretty good pranker. He was carrying this big white statue, and he was pretending to be very careful with it. And he was like, guys, get out of my way. Get out of my way. I'm bringing the statue in. I'm taking this home to my wife. And he just did this giant pratfall. The thing smashed against the wall, and he fell. The statue fell, broke everywhere. And all of us were like, "Oh shit, his statue!" And then he got up and started laughing.
That's a really good one. That's awesome. One of my favorite memories. People don't know this, but the Carlos and Logan were tired of my dressing room being so messy. And me leaving things everywhere. So they went into my dressing room. They took everything that was on the floor, which was like hangers, bottled water, papers, this, that were just laying around. And they took Scotch tape and they Scotch taped every single thing to the walls. So I walked in and they were just things
like a pair of socks.
Yeah, a pair of socks hanging from the walls. Like they did that kind of stuff to me pretty often. One time they took water bottles that were empty. They were full of water, and they balanced my table in my dressing room on top of these water bottles, so that when I put anything on it, they would fall over and water would just shoot everywhere. And that happened, and I got water everywhere. Yeah, and then Carlos and me and all the guys saw Paranormal Activity. And there was a blackout one night. I don't know if you remember this. We had a full blown. It was like rolling blackouts, and Paramount went dark one day while we were shooting. They lost all power.
I know. Well, having just spent 4 more years on Paramount, that happened again. So yeah, it happens occasionally.
Yeah. So when that happened, I went into Carlos's dressing room and hid
and raped him.
Oh God! I went in there and I just hid in the corner in the dark and just waited. And then he came in, and he like slowly came in with his flashlight. Yeah. Like he had like a flashlight on his phone, and he was like just slowly kind of, okay, I'm gonna get my stuff. And as he was like, he looked around the room, but he didn't see me because I was standing on something. And he looks around and he's picking up his stuff, and then I just jumped out and was like, ah! And when I jumped out, he screamed and yelled and screamed, I'm afraid of demons, and then ran away, screaming, I'm afraid of demons.
He did not say that.
He did actually yell, I'm afraid of demons. It was
just a normal scream wouldn't suffice. He has to explain to you why.
He's like, I am also afraid of demons. All right.
You just inform me if you're a ghost and not a demon, he's not afraid of you.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
All right, there's two. We got two last questions from @sunrise028. They asked, "Who was your favorite, most memorable guest star on Big Time Rush?" That was a mouthful.
I don't know. Do you remember? Could you list some?
Sure. Jordan Sparks.
Oh yeah, I wrote that one.
Did you?
Yeah.
That is a fantastic episode.
Yeah.
By the way,
they fall down the well.
I love that episode. Jordan. Who else?
So we had
the
Snoop,
girl from
Pussycat
Dolls.
Oh right, that was episode 1.
That was episode 1. Yeah.
And we had Russell Brand.
We had Russell Brand and Snoop and Fabio.
Fabio was great.
Yeah,
Fabio,
I used to love reading as Fabio in the table.
And you have such great Fabio stories. The George Clooney story. I don't know if you ever told that.
Oh yeah,
you did that on the podcast a couple episodes ago. We talked about that. Yeah.
I love him so much.
Fabio, we had Jeff Ross on. That was kind of a fun one.
Yeah, Jeff and Bobby Lee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
You used to bring us stuff because you're hooked into that comedy scene.
Yeah, I got to bring. Getting to bring Jeff Ross down there was a big deal for me.
Yeah, I remember writing insults for him and thinking, this is so fucking cool. I'm writing insults for the Insult King.
Yeah,
that's the best. That's the best. You know, one of the I got to say this before we move on. This is wait. One last one. And then, okay, last question comes from. Okay, here we go. This is from Constance Maslow. Asks if you could go back.
Is she related to the other Maslow?
Yes.
That's the question
I don't know.
earlier.
There's
they
a
must be
lot
sisters.
of Maslow.
Wow.
Constance.
If you could, and her picture is James Maslow.
Well, she must be related.
Big time dreamer.
I think you have one audience member, and it's James.
It's just James.
different wigs.
So Constance Maslow asks, if you could go back to the Big Time Rush series days, would you suggest any changes? Is there anything that you go back and...
You know what? I would allow Carlos to not wear the helmet.
Really?
Yeah, I always felt bad. Like, it's okay. First season, he's that guy who wears the helmet because he's such a balls out guy. But after a while, the actor Carlos was a little tired of wearing it, and it made him look a little special. Yeah. So I would have said, maybe season 2, not so much helmet.
You could do an episode about like how he learned to not have to wear the helmet.
Oh yeah,
you could do like a whole thing on it.
A whole metal plate in his head episode.
Yeah, something. Yeah.
You know what's interesting, and I don't know what this is weird, but it's true. Him wearing that helmet, though, defined that character so strongly that people, when they think of Carlos, they think of that helmet, right?
Yeah. I'm sure he loves that now.
Right, but here's the thing is, he was playing a character, so now he's gotten to go off and play all these other characters, right? Where he's definitely not that guy. As opposed to someone like James or Kendall, who have the same name as their character also, but looked the same. They still look like the same person. So
Kendall's basically the same guy that was on the show, and he's off doing that thing. Yeah.
Where I've been really lucky is you guys put me in yellow glasses, Kangol hat, and these hoodie sweatshirts, right, that were real crazy with chains, and I was playing a very defined character.
That's exactly how you dress, except for the chains.
Well, yeah. But where I'm lucky is like when I go out in the world, people go like, hey, where's your yellow glasses? Like, I get that a lot. Like, why aren't you wearing your yellow glasses? Or why aren't you calling people the dogs? Because you guys created real stuff for us to build these characters out and fill them out. So even though it may be something that as an actor it may have been easier for him not to wear that helmet, it may have benefited him as an actor because he has not stopped working.
Right. So it imprinted him in people's memories.
Yeah, as that's what he looked like as this character, not that's who he is as a human being forever. You know what I mean? So it could go both ways. We gotta wrap this thing up. Your Twitter handle is just your name. You want to spell it just?
Jed Spingarn. JED SPINGARN.
Yes. Do you have like an Instagram or anything else like that?
I do not. No, I'm going to start doing that. Now that the show's ending, I don't work 60 hours a week anymore, so I have time to do all that stuff.
You know, Jed, just being completely honest with you, during the time of doing that show, I found like I got really, really lucky being able to be friends with you because you're such a sweet guy and such a good person, and getting to come and sit in your office and like screw around with you and throw you ideas and play around with stuff and be like, oh, I can get this or I can help with that. Like you guys were you and Laz were like so inclusive with me and like let me play with you guys that I really appreciate it. And I've moved on to like I've worked on other stuff since then, and it's not always like that. You know, you don't always get to be friends with the writers and get to like watch them work, and just getting to watch how you work as a writer has really, really helped me figure out like how when I write for stuff, like how I like to do things and stuff too. So
that's so nice. Thanks.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Appreciate you for that. So
well,
if
as long as we're mutually jacking each other off here,
I will do it. I will jack you off.
Since the moment I met you and saw what you do on screen, I thought this guy is going to be big time. And,
get out of here.
No, I'm totally serious. I just said this to someone the other day that maybe it was Dana Snyder actually that I expect giant things from you still. You know, and you're
he is big. He is giant.
You rat bastard.
It made so much sense to me when I saw you sitting with Mel Brooks in Las Vegas, and I thought, that's who you are. You're like the Dom DeLuise of your day. You're that character
by the way,
actor. Like if they still had the Hollywood Squares, you would be a square.
By the way,
man,
someone
I'm putting
calling
that
you
on
the
my
Dom
resume.
DeLuise of the day is my favorite thing I've ever heard anyone describe you as.
100%. 100%. Matt, where can people find you on the web?
Well, first of all, let's do Mike Glazer because he's not here.
Oh, yeah. Mike Glazer is Glazer Boo-Hoo-Hoo on Twitter, Instagram. Check him out. So funny.
Very funny guy.
We just made a bunch of funny videos at the Houdini Mansion together.
The Boohoo Houdini Mansion.
Oh, stop it.
Yeah. No, you can find me at funnymatt.com. I got links to everything there. Or if you want to tell me about the towering intellect of Carlos, you can do that at mattwalkersucks.com.
Oh, you better believe it.
Yes.
You can always get me at Stephen Glickman, STPHEN Glickman on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. And don't forget to subscribe to the Nighttime Show podcast. Leave us messages, comments, and let us know who you'd like us to speak with next. We love you so much. Thanks for listening.
Stand up!